You're listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense with your host, Doug Thorpe. Here's Doug.
Hello again, everyone. This is Doug Thorpe, and you're listening to another episode of Leadership Powered by Common Sense. Today, my guest is going to help us more in the arena of generating sales for your business. Sales is a tricky area, and as many of you know, I've done a couple of episodes about the sales game. And self-confessed, I don't like it. I don't like doing it. I have an attitude about it, and probably need to see a therapist or something, but that's another subject. So anyway, without further ado, let me introduce my guest. His name is Benjamin Brown. Benjamin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doug. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So as we were kind of prepping for this, you had some great thoughts and ideas, and I said I felt like I did want to focus a lot of our talk for the entrepreneur, maybe even particularly the entrepreneur who has become one by acquisition. And what I mean is, they've taken the capital they've raised and they've decided to buy a business rather than create a business. And with that comes all manner of challenge and scope creep and all kinds of other things. But sales is always one of the games. And Benjamin, you had some great thoughts about that. Let me just let you dive in and take off with that starting point.
Okay. The term is called atrophy. Sales is a muscle. So we're born to sell. As children, we ask for everything, we close. And in Western civilization, we teach the children stop asking as much. You're supposed to earn what you get. So you earn your grades, you earn your scholarship, you earn your degree, you earn your job. Job takes care of everything for you. You don't need to ask. But when you start a business, you're going to have to start asking. And most people haven't done it for 20, 30 years because they've been in the system. So when they start the business, they haven't used that skill. They've lost all of it. They don't understand it. And so being able to ask is sometimes they feel beneath them, or they don't have the confidence, which 80% of sales is confidence. So they don't have any confidence in the skill of selling, but they're trying to move a product or service. And they find that it's very hard. And then what they'll do is take the money that they invested and they'll use it towards marketing to try to find low-hanging fruit so they don't have to start asking for sales, right? One of the things I tell people, the best salesperson in the United States is a homeless person, right? A homeless person in the United States can make normally between $300 to $700 at a good corner with a good mind. We can all be homeless at any given time if things didn't go our way. So they're no different from us, right? They're still people, but they can make $300 to $700 a day. You have an entrepreneur with a small business that's not doing $300 to $700 a day. What is the difference? The homeless person is focused. They don't care about their email. They don't care about the website. They don't care about marketing. They don't care about the office, business cards, email, text messages, Instagram. They're just focused on the next ask. And they don't care if they get a no. They don't care if people talk about them. They don't care what they look like. They don't care what they smell like. They're focused on getting what they want because it's either food, or water, drugs, alcohol, something they want very bad, and they don't care about what everybody else thinks. Whereas when you start a business, you care about, should I do this? All of these different concerns. Meanwhile, you're not on the phone. You're not asking. So that person, homeless person, is getting rejected. Maybe, I don't know, hundreds of times a day, but they're still getting what they want because they understand that they're willing to put in the persistence to do that. And most business people don't understand what that is all about at all. They live life on the easy mode.
That's a great analogy, and what a sobering thought. But I think the takeaway I got from that, two things. One is focus, and the other is that attitude of not being so hypersensitive. And as I teased out at the top of the show, I realize I have fundamentally not enjoyed doing sales, or at least in my mind, I don't do it.
Right.
Because I am too quick to make an association to some really bad sales experiences I've had as a customer or consumer.
Right.
And I say, I don't want to be that guy. I
Yeah.
remember the way that guy talked to me and treated me, and I don't want to do anything that makes me look like that guy. And then, but if I could get in my own head and break that down, it's like, yeah, but come on, you're not going to be that guy. You don't think that way. You're not looking at that. It's a whole different subject. It's a whole different topic. So come on,
Well,
man.
that's why I work on mindset first. So in my course, I have to understand, for people to understand that sales is simple. It's not easy. So a lot of that work is getting out of that mindset that sales is sleazy or something that's not done. Sales is all around us from the time we wake up, from our cell phones to driving to work, to children asking you for something. Sales is everywhere. People just don't know it. So when you change the mindset, you understand you're already in it. You're just not taking advantage of it. Your whole thing changes. Sales doesn't have to. Most of the time in America, the only time you deal direct with sales is buying a car or a house, right? Where you negotiate, and people don't like negotiating. Whereas you go overseas, it's everywhere. Sometimes there's cultures where there's no prices. You negotiate with the person on a regular basis. That muscle has not atrophied. You're using your sales skill. You go to Israel, you go to India, everything is about negotiation, right? You go to other countries where they don't have prices and stuff. Everything is about negotiating. In America, we have the mindset, if you can't afford it, you don't ask for it. So that negative deal of sales is where people, because sales, when it's done right, it's an art, it's a skill. That's when it's done right. It's very smooth. The person don't even know they're selling if you know what you're doing, right? You're helping. So the thing I tell Doug is that when you know how to sell, which there's certain percentage of people that's really good, and I always tell people I'm not the best salespeople, I just know how to teach it. The main deal is that when you're really good, you have a choice whether you want to use it for good or bad. And so most people only attach to the negative. I got ripped off. This guy sold me this. This guy was rude. This guy was trying to close me all the time. All these negative things that people think of right off the bat, whereas there's the good part of doing it as well, but most people don't associate with that.
Yeah. I've frequently heard it said that what you ought to have in your mindset is the idea that whatever I'm offering, my service or my product, is serving a good for somebody. And that's what we're talking about. My thing can help you. You have shown up, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, prospect. You have shown up with a need, and if I can serve that need, let's talk about it.
Well, I teach when I work with people. I only work with people who like or love the product. So my concept is like it, love it, or leave it. If you don't like it, if you don't love it, leave it, because it's going to show up in your presentation. It's going to be harder for you to sell it. So if you don't like what you're selling or believe in it or love it, there's always something else you could do. So I could feel that when I work with people, because I need that for them to understand that they're doing their product or service is servicing a need and helping people. And so when you have that mindset that you're helping people, you take your own personality out of the equation, and you don't feel as threatened about rejection. You understand it's not for everyone. It's just not for everyone. You go out there and sell, if I gave you the cure for cancer right now in a box, and I said, you just sell this box to anybody who has cancer, and they can cure whatever the price is. And you're like, what? You like it, and it works. But you going out to pitch it, you're saving people's lives, but some people just won't take it. You're like, the people are crazy. But you have that percentage of people you just never can convince. It has nothing to do with you, even though you're providing a life. They still won't buy it. So you have to understand that if you go that far, if you're offering a swing that you're selling for people in the front of their houses, it's not for everyone. So that's why sales is a numbers game, and you have to be able to be persistent through that numbers game and understand that mindset, and don't take it personal.
Well, let's talk about the businesses that might be a home service. And as many of my listeners know, I do a lot of work in that space. And when I
Mhm.
say home services, I'm talking about the licensed trades, plumbers, electricians,
Right.
HVAC companies. Let's start with the idea of differentiating. How do those guys get somebody's attention to become a new prospect?
Oh, you're talking about the advertising?
Yeah, well, I guess is that the answer? Is it all about your advertising and
Well,
marketing to
there
start
is
with?
a fine line that I define between marketing and sales. Marketing gets you exposure and attention once they penetrate the skin of the company, which is a phone call, walking through the door, email, text, instant messenger, whatever, they start to reach out to you in that certain respect is when it turns directly from marketing directly into your sales process, right? So
Okay.
the job is to get it aware. Advertising is an aware to get an attention. Instagram, social media is all about attention. Yeah, but are you going to do something? So, Doug, simply what happens is that awareness is the advertisement. Sales is the action item. So the purpose of a sale is my definition is to get someone to move. Now that you've seen my advertisement, I'm asking you to do something. I'm asking you to give me your email. I'm asking you to give me your phone number. I'm asking you to call me. I'm asking you to fill this form out. These are all the beginning stages of the sales process. So the key component in the end result is that at the end of the sales process in my book, Master Art, is getting referrals. So your job in the skills part, where you're talking plumbing, all of this, is generating in my sales process a referral. I have worked with people, couldn't sell them, got referrals from them, and sold to other people. So the purpose of a sale is also to get a referral in the end. So my sales process has to be non-aggressive, smooth enough where in the end, when I ask for a referral, whether you buy from me or not, my business continues on. Network marketing is the key of that, right?
Yeah. Got it. So let's talk more about this thing called sales process.
Yeah.
Again, somebody who has bought a business or moved in and become an entrepreneur, they've probably read a book, they've probably gone to a program. Somebody has suggested to them they need to build a sales process, and then they go, huh? You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics. What do you consider are the elements of a sales process?
Well, over the years, I've conflicted a 10-step process. So there's 10 steps in every sales process and product, but most businesses don't need all 10. So we customize which one of those that you need for your business. Say, for example, there's 10 steps, but in a gym business, if you're selling gym memberships, you only need 5: need, use, affordability, spouse, guest pass, right? So when I work with a number of businesses, I'm trying to figure out what process is customized based upon your product or service, no matter what it is, I don't care, and no matter the cost. So it has to be repeatable. Sales is a skill, it's an action item. So theory does not work. So reading a book, going to a seminar, watching a video, all this stuff, great. But as you know, plumbing, carpentry, woodworking, all this stuff is what? A skill. You normally have to be an apprentice for a while to understand how it works and how you do it over and over again. Sales is the same skill.
Yeah.
So you could use that skill to make money the rest of your life. So if you have a process that you understand, you can fit in any product or service in that process. Keep it simple, stupid. Repeat the process over and over and over and over again, no matter what the product or service is. So that's why companies come to me and say, I don't know if you can help us. We sell this. I'm like, I don't care what you sell. What's the process? The process will set you free because you need to make it repeatable, especially if you're hiring people or bringing people on. This is the way we do things here. One of the major companies used to do that, and you probably young enough to remember that. IBM had a sales process, bar none. And most of the companies that were created in the 90s and also in the 80s and 90s were a lot of people who left IBM and started their own companies and took that process with them and grew all these tech companies because they understood the sales mindset that IBM built. I mean, it was 6 months they worked with people on that, and they were one of the companies that had a very refined process, right?
Right. Right.
If you go down here to timeshare places, you walk in there, those guys, that sales process is very, very refined, right? They know the target market, they know the price, they know what to ask, they know everything they close. And it's very hard to get away once you're in there, right? So it's been very refined. And so most businesses, the first thing I ask them, oh, we do this. And I go, what is your sales process? And they're like the guy from the Muppets, like this. What? You don't have a process. What are you doing? You're winging it. So you might be popular, you might be making money, you might be making millions, but normally things change, competition, market, things happen where you have to generate more money, you have to be more aggressive in your sales. And that's when companies normally call and say, hey, we need to figure out a sales process.
Yeah. Well, when we were in the green room before the show, we were also talking about the idea of building a sales team, and you had some great thoughts, and clearly from your experience of where companies have struggled on the idea of hiring salespeople to take on. So if the owner's not good at sales, what's the next best alternative? Hire the right people to go do it.
Right.
So talk to us some more about some of the pitfalls there.
Well, if the ownership, like say, for example, I do football as an analogy. I love analogy. If you're a defensive coordinator and you take a head coaching job, and now you came from a defensive background, how are you going to teach the offense? You're a defensive coordinator, so you need to hire a great offensive coordinator because you don't know even though you run the business. Same thing with businesses. Most people, I always reflect to you, salespeople can sell some, but the first thing they can sell is themselves. So when you look to hire salespeople, you find out in most cases, if you don't have a sales background and understand how to listen to them, you find out sometimes you're not hiring the right salespeople. That wastes a lot. If it is major things you waste money in a company is an employee that you shouldn't have hired. I mean, months, if not sometimes years of just or a year of just tagging this person along, and it's not a good fit, right? So I've actually went into companies and gave the owners like, listen, why you have so much high turnover? Why you can't keep anybody? So some of it is based on expectations. I'll tell you, I always have a funny story. So I worked for this insurance company one time, and I came in as a husband and wife. They owned this insurance company, small firm. They had about 5 salespeople. And I, find and figure out what the problem is. And they start breaking it down for me. And it's like the last sales manager I had, I brought him in and I was like, tell me what happened. He said, because it was business insurance, which they have opening dates. So you can't sell on a regular basis. You have to sell when it's open, only 6 months. So he brought the sales manager in and he says, we're going to pay you salary, which is, I was like laughing. And then he said, normally we don't it takes you about 7 months to get a sale. And I said, so what did you pay him? He said, well, we paid him 80 grand. I said, so for a salesperson in their mind, you're paying me 40. I don't have to do a sale for a whole year. So I don't have to produce. You already set the parameters up. You're telling me I normally don't have to get a sale for 7 months and you're going to pay me 80 grand. I'm like, hire me. I'll come in and look productive for 6 months for 40 grand. And he just looked at me and I said, you don't see what you did? You set yourself up for failure. There's no achievement for him. Sales are action people. It's like paying a player and telling him, you don't have to play until like week 8. It's like, he is like looking at me. I'm like, don't you see it? And so things like that, most people don't understand when it comes to sales. It's a different mindset.
Yeah. Well, as you're describing that, I'm reflecting back in my early entrepreneurial days of my own. I did exactly that. I convinced myself that for the company I had, I needed a dedicated salesperson and potentially build out a sales team, as things grew, and that was great in my mind. And found a guy who had been very, very good and very smooth, and came in, and he and I hit it off. I mean, we had we just kind of vibed and everything. And it wasn't long before he kind of showed up and said, hey, I think I'd like to invest in your company. And I said, oh, that's cool. We could do that. Yeah, I'll take your money. And So we struck a deal, and I had made that same mistake of giving him a base, and now I didn't put a time bound. I pretty much said it to him. Sales need to start tomorrow,
Yeah.
and we went through some training and orientation and everything, and then we rocked along, and we went a whole year. And basically, what he had done when I did the math, he had basically, by the amount of the investment he gave, it was a minority interest in my company, but he had basically funded his salary for a year and nothing else.
And they had a percentage of your company as you walked out the door.
Well, he did, yes, but it was an incredibly small percentage, so
Right.
so not worth thinking about. And that's the company. Many of my listeners have heard me say it was collateral damage in the crash of '08. So there was zero residual value when we had to shut it down, and everybody had to walk away.
Yeah.
So, but out of all my investors in that deal, as we talked about the effects of the crash, he was the one that was most angry about the settlement and how it worked out. And I'm like, dude, you were like, do you realize you're like, go away? My big money guys get it.
Any conversation or transaction that you have, somebody's buying, somebody's always selling. If you don't know who's selling, you're the one that's buying. So if you don't know sales, when it comes to negotiating, whether it's personal or business, you'll realize that you're being sold. And sometimes it doesn't come to your liking. Most people just accept it or get burned and never talk about it, or it's a lesson that I learned, right? It's always a lesson I learned. But the main thing is that, you have like I tell my nephew, my godson, somebody's always buying, somebody's always selling. You got to make a decision which one because if you're not, you're the one that's buying. So, your whole mindset changes once you understand sales is everywhere. You're just like, okay. So, even my ex-wife used to say, when the phone would ring and it would be a telemarketer, it'd be like, oh, this guy's going to have a bad day with Brown. I'm like, so, which I throw all kind of stuff, it's once you understand it's the concept, they'll be talking and I'll be like, so where are you from? You'd be like, what? Like take them totally off the rhythm, because sales is a rhythm, or, just to see if they can cut the mustard. I've actually done a deal like that years ago where I accosted the rep so bad that the manager came on the phone. And then I was like, what are you teaching these guys? Like, this is horrible. I'm like, let me do a pitch for you, how you were supposed to do it. And I did a pitch right there on the phone, the way he was like, who are you? And I'm like, I said, I'm your worst nightmare or your best friend. You make a choice. He's like, I'd rather you be my best friend. 2 weeks later, I'm doing a seminar down at this company for about 3 days. So, you just never know.
That's great. That's great. Well, Benjamin, when you kind of first engage with a business who is struggling in this arena, are there some common themes or common steps you take them through to get them turned around and stood up properly?
Most of the time, there's money that they're already losing in the company already. That is their database or referrals or the technical aspect. Do they have a CRM that's effective? Also, the database that they currently have, there's money. A database is money in the bank for a company. You just haven't pulled out or extracted more money. So the first thing I would go is towards that to figure out what money, because my concept is that you don't pay for me. Your customers pay for me. I need to find the money that is money that you've already been missing out on, or you're not closing enough deals. Your opportunity is there. You're missing it. So once I'm able to see that, it's easier to work with me because it's like, he's going to make us money. I worked with one client 3 months and we tracked everything that we did. $160,000 at the end of 3 months that we generated based upon the things that I was telling them. Their fee for me was only $10,000 for that month, 3 months. So the cost effectiveness is like, I make people money like, hey, this guy's going to make us money. Let's get started. And it's going to be work. I cannot do it for you. That's the king thing. But I'll tell you a funny story. Every company that I work with always want to hire me. I love that because when they do that, that means I'm doing a good job, right? So it happened so often that I had to do a sales presentation on how to do it. So the owner would normally bring us in and said, we've been thinking about, here it comes, coming on board full time. And I would be like, yeah. And I said, I understand that. It's great. I said, you have your boat. And my company's not $1 million company, but I work with $1 million companies, right? And I said, you have this big boat and I have a small boat. And I said, I'm helping you build that boat by jumping on your boat. And I would have to leave my boat. I said, so here's the deal. If you want me to get on your boat, you're going to have to buy my boat because I'm going to have to leave it. So I'm going to write down a number on what I think my boat is worth. And if you can buy my boat, then we can have a discussion on me leaving and coming on your boat. And I'll take a piece of paper and I'll slide it across and I'll look at them and they go, so you're just going to continue working, right? Just to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
No more discussions about that. Let's just finish everything we're doing.
Let's just keep doing what we're doing
and keep building my boat.
Yeah. 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 That is interesting. It happens more frequently than you might imagine.
Absolutely.
Especially for guys like you and I who are in that sort of coaching and training business to help people with programs and things. And they look at your work and they go, oh, I could see a full-time job doing that. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not your guy.
Not your guy.
Not your guy for that. Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah. So Benjamin, what's the name of the book again?
It's Master the Art of Closing the Sale. It's on Amazon. It's basically very thin. I made it simple. The 10 steps are in here. We just layer in what product or service that you have on top of that. It's a lot of repetition. It takes about a month to 3 months for somebody to get it in their head, even if they've been in sales for years. It's the understanding of the front loaded of sales. You don't have to memorize closes and all this kind of stuff. It's a process where you are the prize and the client has to qualify for you. So you save a lot of time, not going through the entire pitch and presentation. People pitch and wish. So most salespeople are just so happy to get to the presentation. They don't do the front work and they spend a lot of time. And then when they get towards the close, they're not confident because they're assuming. So the first rule I teach is you never assume anything in sales. It's all ruled out by questions. So most salespeople are not asking enough questions and assuming. And when they get toward the end, they'll take any objection and then I'll call you back. And then they got a database full of callbacks that never close. And you're just wasting a tremendous amount of time rather than helping people. And so the sales process should be smooth because my goal in the step number 10 is to ask for a referral. And I can only do that if I haven't offended you and I'm sincere in helping you. And by you doing that, you will help my business by giving me a referral because normally the person you sell, their friends is in the same demographic. So yeah, it makes it very easy. I own a limousine company. And so most of my referrals come from people that's in the same neighborhood, same genre. And it's very easy if you understand how to do referral-based selling. It makes it a whole lot easier for you to generate more for your business. Most people just hang the phone up, get excited, ring the bell, woohoo, 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 go back to another lead that they haven't even talked to and start over from the beginning. What they call a cold, warm, hot lead. There's no such thing as a warm lead.
Yeah. I did learn that early on as a college student, summer job. I went to work for a sales company of all things, and we were selling vacuum cleaners. And we had a girl in the office that was doing the cold calling, going down the phone book and doing things. And I'd been there a couple of weeks and it was brutal. I'd gone through the training and I'd made all my house calls and everything. And it was tough. And I had exhausted my friends and family to get some money. And, but then I went on one call and the guy was an Air Force doctor at a big Air Force base near me. And these vacuum cleaners, it was a brand called Rainbow Rexair. It had a water bath.
We had them.
It had a water bath filter. It was no bag, no dust, no anything.
No bag. Yeah.
And this doctor saw the science in that. And I mean, he just lit up and, and he called his wife in. His wife didn't want to sit through the deal, but he was willing to. But when he saw it and got all excited, he said, this is the exact same science behind the way we filter air at the hospital. And he said, we got to have some of these. And I think he bought 3 because he wanted to give them to some of his family.
Yeah.
And I had been trained to ask for the referral. And he said, referral. He reached in his drawer and pulled out the phone book of the other doctors at his hospital. He said, call all of these guys. They need to know about this. So I took that book back to the office and told my girl there, and I said, don't call anybody for me except out of this book, and nobody else gets the book, by the way.
Right.
I spent the rest of my summer going to these doctors' houses, and I think my close percentage went up to about 80%.
Just because of the fact you asked, and most people don't ask. So I build referral programs in companies that never had referral programs. Like, what is your referral program? What? Excuse me? What? Like, you're wasting time just hitting one at a time when you can hit one. If you didn't ask, there's probably 10, 20 deals you got out of that one deal.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't ask, just because you did ask something. Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, Benjamin,
people work harder.
Yeah. This has been awesome, man. Thank you for sitting in and enlightening us and sharing all your things. Tell everybody the best way to get a hold of you if they're interested in knowing more.
It's 360 Sales Consulting. You can find me on the internet through that way. I think on LinkedIn, everything else. But I have a URL that I purchased for people that want to get in contact personally and see if I can help. It's meetwithbenjamin.com, and you just click on that and you can schedule an appointment, and we go through the assessment to figure out if it's a good match and if you have an opportunity to make more money by creating a better sales process.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for sitting in. We're going to bring this to a close, let everybody get back out there. Excuse me. And I'm going to wish everybody go out there and make it a great day.
You've been listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense, hosted by Doug Thorpe. If you would like to know more about the coaching and advisory services he provides, visit dougthorpe.com.